but I want to move to Europe.
What if the $1 million mansion isn't a gift, but a trap?
Somebody called the cops on us.
Let's just make
we
friends.
should just be
Best thing-
friends.
The tenders are viewed with suspicion and disdain.
Aurora has been having panic attacks.
Aurora, a young woman grappling with crippling anxiety, is thrust into the spotlight and pressured to deliver under extreme scrutiny. Instead of receiving compassion, she's exploited. Her mental fragility turned into a spectacle for entertainment and profit.
Aurora, is your face clean?
I don't know.
Such a busy day.
Cody and Robyn contribute minimally to the family's shared responsibilities, historically relying on the wives and children to carry the emotional and practical load. With the other wives gone, they now place that burden on Aurora and Brianna. Aurora faces constant pressure to meet the expectations of her parents, with any perceived deviation labeled as disloyalty. Now she's expected to navigate those same rigid demands under national scrutiny.
These panic attacks happen probably 4 to 5 times a week. Some of them I have noticed are triggered by.
There is no indication that Aurora is seen as a beloved daughter or favored family member. She appears to be used as a tool, for control, for appearances, and for income. Someone suffering from her level of anxiety would not, under compassionate care, be placed on a reality television show. Instead, she is placed front and center, seemingly for the sake of preserving the family's media relevance.
If we keep rolling and we roll these mortgages out long enough, we could suck dry all the money that we have to put down payment.
Cody's financial insecurity appears to drive the continuation of filming. Interest in him and Robyn alone is limited, and the show's viewership hinges on the involvement of the children. The emotional consequences for those involved, including the potential for long-term psychological harm, are seemingly ignored in favor of profitability.
Holy cow, he's trying to get us into one house.
His ability to provide material gifts, like a multi-million-dollar home, appears to be treated as justification for ongoing control, rather than as evidence of care or emotional support. During a recent interaction involving a family game, Cody's brief display of affection toward Brianna was met with a visible reaction from Robyn. Her response suggested possessiveness and an unwillingness to share emotional space, even with her own children.
By the idea of Isabel going back to school. Robyn and we made this agreement with Brianna.
Patterns of emotional and mental manipulation are evident, restricting the children's social lives, neglecting their physical well-being, and modeling behavior that discourages independence or assertiveness.
I've missed hugs from these kids.
Robyn's choices have contributed to the children's isolation. They have been distanced from their extended family, including biological and adoptive relatives. Solomon and Ariella, for example, have many siblings they are unlikely to know meaningfully. This is not the behavior of a parent fostering healthy relationships. It reflects a closed, controlled environment.
Did you guys hang out together since you
No, I don't talk to them.
Questions also arise around Aurora's apparent emotional decline. A reported meeting between her and another sibling at college may have led to internal conflict, particularly given the strained dynamics with Cody and the broader family. Attempts to maintain sibling connections may have led to further stress, especially if those efforts were met with disapproval.
Aurora has shown signs of increased distress over time, likely tied to the continued emotional strain. Brianna, by contrast, has not demonstrated the same level of emotional wear. Her historically limited connection to the broader group of siblings and occasional dismissive comments may reflect a different set of expectations placed upon her. The contrast between the two daughters suggests unequal treatment and further highlights the complex and potentially damaging dynamics within the household. Christine didn't break Cody's heart. David broke his ego. Since David came into the picture, Cody has been on a relentless mission to outdo him, as if they're in a rivalry that only one of them knows exists.
I have 10 grandkids. And
From the moment they met, David mentioned how much he loved the grandkids, and Cody immediately countered by announcing he still had young kids, clearly trying to establish that he's younger, more relevant.
Life.
Can you show off that ring?
Yes. I met the love of my life. I did.
When Christine and David got engaged with a beautiful ring, it wasn't long before Robyn was sporting a new one too.
Today, David and I are going to Moab.
Then, when Christine and David were seen enjoying off-road adventures in breathtaking locations, Cody and Robyn suddenly made their own ATV debut. Though instead of Moab's stunning scenery, they had the muddy pond at Coyote Pass.
Enough to know that they wanted to buy a house together.
Christine and David purchased a new home with a gorgeous view. Soon after, Cody was outside with a chainsaw cutting down trees to reveal a view of his own. Then came another home purchase, not for necessity, but seemingly for optics. The competition didn't stop there. Christine and David traveled to England and Ireland with some of the children before their wedding. Now Cody's expressing interest in moving to Europe.
But I want to move to Europe.
Christine and David had a wedding filled with dancing and joy. Cody responded by suggesting a dance-off with David. Cody had spoken for years about buying rental property for income, but when Christine and David actually bought one, it seemed to rattle him.
Babe, David has a drywall business that he's owned for 40 years.
The fact that David owns a company, has a successful career, and earns more money doesn't help matters. Beyond finances, David also shows maturity and emotional intelligence, qualities that highlight the contrast between the two men.
And he's incredible with Truly, and his children are phenomenal.
David has built a sincere relationship with Truly, one not based on control or conditional affection.
She doesn't really clock what she's missing.
Cody, by contrast, appears largely absent from her life. Despite this, he insists on fighting for her, though his actual involvement is minimal. Christine seems to be taking steps to protect Truly, ensuring she feels safe and supported. For years, Cody has attempted to distance himself from his religious roots, yet his actions have contributed to alienating many of his sons, echoing the very system he once rejected. When Christine decided to leave, Cody couldn't accept that it was because of her own unhappiness. Instead, he assumed it must be due to another man.
There's a lot of pain from divorce and the separation of family.
Meanwhile, his behavior has taken on a performative tone, public declarations of affection, scripted arguments in the snow, and nostalgia over a relationship that seems devoid of warmth in the present. The emotional disconnect is hard to ignore. In contrast, Christine's new chapter is filled with joy, travel, family connection, and a partner who shows up in every way Cody never did. The difference is striking, and the competition, however one-sided, only highlights it further. Robyn didn't just join the family. She came to end it. By the third season, Robyn's actions grow more troubling and harder to overlook.
Do you want me to leave so you guys can lay on the bed together? Make sure you like it.
She often makes uncomfortable comments about intimacy, remarks like, "Should I turn around so you can kiss?" Or, "Do you want me to leave so you can lie on the bed and see if it's big enough?" These kinds of comments don't come from the other wives, and they consistently create awkward, unnecessary tension.
We have a bun in the oven. We're expecting a baby in October.
Then there's the speech she gave after getting pregnant, where she launched into a monologue about how a pregnancy is a visible sign of intimacy and how hard that must be for the other wives. The expressions on their faces said everything: confusion, frustration, maybe even embarrassment. Instead of empathy, the moment came off as performative and self-congratulatory.
You know, I wouldn't talk about our sexuality or my sexuality with anybody.
Throughout the series, there's a noticeable pattern. Robyn frequently references private matters in ways that no one else does. The others typically avoid discussing intimacy or keep it vague. A simple comment like, "We don't go weird," was once enough to establish boundaries. There were rare emotionally charged exceptions, such as a painful discussion that contributed to the end of a marriage. But for the most part, personal matters remained private, until Robyn changed the tone.
You don't generally go to coffee and discuss human sexuality.
Her comments often seem like power plays, subtle reminders that she holds a different status. They're not always overt, but they land with an edge. She seems to know she can get away with saying things others can't, and she uses that to her advantage. Whether it's for attention, control, or both, the result is the same: discomfort for everyone else.
You dropped off the furniture.
There are moments where she appears to play the supportive wife, even attempting humor. For example, when another couple was furniture shopping, she offered to step out so they could have alone time on a bed they were considering. Perhaps it was meant to be funny. In context, it came off as forced and not well received.
And she still dilated to a 5.
Beyond personality quirks, her entrance into the family came with complications. She brought significant debt, which the family paid off. She's never worked, yet required a nanny for 2 children. Meanwhile, one wife was raising 7 children alone, and another was working full-time. The contrast is striking.
I believe in living this lifestyle.
Whether intentional or not, her presence fundamentally shifted the family dynamic. What may have looked like social awkwardness or insecurity on the surface revealed itself over time as something more calculated. Her behavior isolated key family members, created division, and eventually reshaped the entire structure of the household. Everyone praises family values, but what if those values led to hunger, stress, and broken trust?
The whole family moved to Las Vegas a couple months ago.
Solomon was conceived while the Browns were all living under one roof, sharing a temporary rental home in Las Vegas during a period of close family cohabitation.
And we struggled in Las Vegas for a very long time.
This timing raised serious concerns. The family had just undergone a major move and emotions were running high, especially among the children and the other wives who were dealing with stress, uncertainty, and emotional upheaval. Despite this, Robyn and Cody chose to move forward with a planned pregnancy.
I am working insane hours for my sister wife's closet.
The family was facing significant instability. They already had 13 children, none of the adults had reliable jobs at the time, and the income from their television show was still relatively new and not yet substantial. There was no real financial cushion, no long-term housing in place, and no health insurance.
I honestly think we already have almost more kids than...
Rather than focusing on stabilizing their lives, finding permanent housing, securing employment, or addressing the emotional needs of the children, they prioritized expanding the family. This decision reflected a long-standing pattern among the adults, continuing to have children despite ongoing financial and logistical struggles. Over the years, the older children have shared that at times there wasn't enough food in the house. Even more recently, the family lacked basic insurance coverage while investing in expensive properties and large homes. The decision to have another child under such circumstances came across as deeply irresponsible.
When I made the announcement that I was pregnant with Solomon,
It's not surprising that the older children responded with concern or even frustration. They were witnessing financial strains, strained relationships, and parental instability, and saw clearly that the timing was inappropriate.
Kids?
Makes me want to be smart about how many kids I have.
The responsibility for this pattern doesn't lie solely with Robyn and Cody, though they made some of the most high-profile choices.
After 2 years of living in the rentals, we were desperate to actually have our family back together.
All of the adult members of the family contributed to a broader tendency to prioritize having more children over ensuring the well-being of the ones they already had. Cody Brown didn't lose his wives, he drove them away, one argument at a time.
Robyn will do anything so that I can be home. So she has sequestered her children.
Robyn is the only one left who has to, well, gets to, go along with me now. That one line might be the clearest reflection of who Cody Brown really is.
I'm putting together a presentation for my wives.
In a healthy partnership, decisions aren't handed down, they're talked through. It's about listening, respecting each other's perspectives, and arriving at choices together.
Do you know what he really means? Misbehavior. Your misbehavior.
But Cody's version of partnership operates more like a hostile negotiation. When he wants something, he doesn't invite discussion. He prepares his case, charges in, and pressures his wives until he gets his way. His idea of resolution isn't compromise, it's persistence until submission.
It wasn't in the rotation. Mary and I aren't in that kind of relationship.
Now, with 3 marriages behind him, he sees an upside, fewer obstacles. Just one person left to convince. One wife, one opinion to steamroll.
I don't. Robyn, stop. Stop defending Mary. Stop acting like you're...
There was never any real intention of building consensus. It was always about wearing down resistance. And once he got his yes, he often second-guessed himself, forcing the same women to walk him back into believing his original idea was best. It wasn't dialogue. It was manipulation repackaged as leadership.
It's been 6 months and we're not doing well.
Now, stripped of the constant back and forth he used to thrive on, he appears adrift. No show, no group dynamic to dominate, no structure to hide behind.
Robyn and I have an employee, we call her a nanny.
And with one remaining wife who isn't contributing financially, the dynamic has shifted. The question remains, why does someone with no job, no business, and children in school still require a nanny? There's no evident justification, no volunteering, no community work, no business operations, and yet, help is apparently essential.
I am not the head of this family.
Meanwhile, the insistence on being the man of the family continues, despite the fact that the so-called leadership often amounted to ignoring everyone else's input and bulldozing ahead.
Almost like a religious belief, and that religious belief is the one home family.
The one-house plan was a textbook example. He invested time and money into a concept, convinced himself everyone was on board, and then seemed stunned when Christine voiced her opposition. The signs were always there. He just didn't want to see them. Her resistance wasn't subtle, but because it didn't fit his narrative, he chose to ignore it, until reality forced him to listen.
Oh, I just don't want to be like this definition of if we live in one home, that's the only time we're one family.
That's not leadership. That's delusion. Everything about that selfless divorce, it's a lie, and the lawyer knew it too. A rewatch of the legal divorce episode leaves little doubt. This decision didn't come from Mary. From the outset, it had Cody's influence written all over it.
You know, I've kind of had this in the back of my mind for probably about 5 years.
Mary claims she'd been thinking about it for 5 years, but when she meets with the lawyer, she admits she assumed it was the best course of action for the adoption. 5 years, and all she did was assume? With all that time, it's hard to believe she never once looked into the legal process herself.
Her statements during the episode contradict each other, too.
We say that it doesn't matter because it doesn't change anything. And yet, we are all sitting here. Mary.
She says the divorce will change things because she'll be giving something up, but not long after, she insists it won't make a difference. After all, she still has a spiritual marriage like the others. It's clear she's trying to convince herself as much as anyone else.
With the change in the status of the legal marriage, it's a change.
Cody doesn't help matters. He immediately jumps in with concern that the divorce will change things. Not for Mary, of course, but for him and Robyn. He's worried it might alter the dynamic in his new legal marriage.
Thank you for that.
Then, when Mary tells him she's going through with it, he casually says, "Thanks," as if he hadn't been steering the situation the entire time. Her expression says it all. She knew in that moment he'd been planning this outcome all along. Even the lawyer pauses to ask if she's sure about this. He can see she's uncertain. It's clear Mary didn't want to go through with the divorce. She hoped it would be a step toward mending the relationship, but instead of bringing them closer, it became another excuse for Cody to distance himself.
We want this legal marriage to not matter, all of us do.
The dynamic between Cody and Robyn reveals even more. Robyn appears to have quietly encouraged the idea, subtly shaping the narrative. Later on, it's even confirmed that she repeatedly brought up the legal divorce as a possible solution, which suggests this wasn't spontaneous. It was part of a long-term plan. Meanwhile, Robyn's ex-husband remains publicly silent despite being the subject of serious allegations. Without hearing his side, and given how often the truth seems to be stretched, it's hard to know what's real. His silence stands in stark contrast to the way others in the family share their side so freely.
Adopt Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna, and now they're all ours.
Perhaps the most heartbreaking moment is when the children are told their father is allowing them to be adopted. Their reactions are painful to watch. Someday, when they're older and more aware of the broader context, they may view that moment very differently. Ultimately, the legal divorce marked the beginning of the end for Mary and Cody. It seems likely that she agreed to it in a last attempt to repair their strained relationship, a final gesture of faith. But instead of bringing healing, it only confirmed what had already become true. Cody had moved on. Robyn wanted security and Cody wanted out, and Mary, unfortunately, was left believing this was the path to restoration when it was really just the final push out the door. Cody says he never loved his wives, so was the entire show just a performance? If Cody Brown never actually loved his wives, then the entire foundation of Sister Wives was built on a lie.
Because love should be multiplied, not divided.
The central premise that polygamy is a beautiful, God-inspired lifestyle wasn't just misleading, it was pure fiction. From the earliest episodes, viewers were told this was about love, faith, and unity.
The reason I'm not attracted is because I feel betrayed.
But Cody himself is now openly admitting that none of those early relationships held real emotional meaning for him.
I'll tell you what, there's a divine aspect about my relationship with Rob.
With the sole exception, of course, being Robyn. His revisionist take makes it clear the grand, spiritual image of polygamy portrayed on the show was never real.
I like marriage, and I'm a repeat offender, so.
What would be truly fitting now is to replay that first episode, the one where he gushes about how much he loves love and enthusiastically introduces his family, and ask him again, point blank, whether it was all just an act. He's now painting himself as the misunderstood victim in a story he helped script. But this kind of accountability isn't going to happen. He's part of the production now, and the network has no interest in confronting him.
Do you know what he really means? Misbehavior.
Instead, he's given a platform to speak unchecked, even while the emotional cost is borne by his former wives and children. The truth is, shows like Sister Wives were never about celebrating faith-based lifestyles. They were about drama, conflict, and spectacle. From the start, the network capitalized on the tension, and the moment things looked too peaceful, they escalated the stakes.
To go down to see Robyn, and that leaves them kind of feeling.
Adding a new wife wasn't about spiritual growth. It was about guaranteed turmoil. There was never real concern for the long-term damage. The pain of 16 people, including the tragic loss of one life, didn't matter.
We've worked so hard begging the public to accept our marriage, our family.
What mattered was ratings. The more fractured the family became, the more compelling the story. As for Cody, if he never truly loved or felt attracted to his original wives, what exactly is he grieving? His former life? His authority?
I was guilty of not being in love with them.
Robyn, meanwhile, appears more concerned with stability than with the version of Cody left behind, one who seems emotionally hollow and publicly unraveling. This wasn't a show about glorifying plural marriage. It was a show about exploiting a family dynamic that was always teetering on the edge. Cody's initial infatuation with Mary, Janelle, and Christine was shallow, a typical narcissistic pattern.
I'm going to be the head of my household again.
Now that they've left, his ego is bruised.
Just performing my duty.
And his response is to rewrite the story entirely. It mirrors the behavior of a child who yells, "I hate you," in a tantrum, only to beg for attention the moment someone actually walks away. "Don't go," he says, but it's too late. The illusion has already shattered. Thank you for watching. It means a lot that you spent this time with me. I'm Elena. Take care, and ta-ta for now.